Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Winter Season Showdowns, where we're currently watching the last chance bracket for the Europeans. I'm axeltoss, joined by axslav, and pretty interesting day so far. Of course, the last match was quite entertainment between Feast and Snute. Feast able to take down Snute, and then of course the match before that, Titan versus Socke. Titan winning that. Now we're going to have Grubby versus Titan. So let's look at that bracket really quick one more time, and then we can get into the next game so we can have a little refresher of exactly what is going on. There you see it. Grubby, Titan.
There we go.
The winner of both of those advanced to the winner bracket, of course.
And then there were 4.
Yes, and then there were 4. And we're going to get into that Grubby versus Titan game very quickly. But before we do, Full Sail University, of course, you just saw that awesome promo. Check them out. fullsail.edu/MLG. If you're currently in high school, if you're currently in college, you're looking for the next step, and you're looking to get into the gaming industry or like graphic design, game design, audio engineering, Full Sail might be the perfect place for you. So check out that website. They'll have you fill in some information, and then they'll send some information right back to you. And then you can find out, all right, Full Sail's kind of cool. I kind of want to attend. Of course, Full Sail, the official education partner of MLG. That being said, shall we advance on into Grubby versus Titan?
Let's do a Grubby Titan. We just saw Titan took down Socke in a PvP there, showing basically great use of force fields, great use of air superiority, and great use of sense of when to attack. Can Grubby avenge Socke, or will Titan continue to crush through the powerhouse from Russia?
We'll find out, of course. Here is Grubby, your green Protoss player, in the top left-hand location. His debut in the Winter Season Showdowns. His opponent in the bottom right-hand location is the red Protoss player, Titan. He took out Socke in the last round of this last chance bracket. Of course, all of these are best of ones. Winner of it all gets a spot at the Winter Season Show, or the Winter Championships, of course, in Dallas, Texas. PvP on our hands here.
Grubby representing the Orcs, that green color.
Yes.
Of course, he was an Orc player in Warcraft 3. For those of you guys who didn't follow the game, Grubby, one of the most famous Warcraft 3 players of all time.
Of course, the second most famous person was axslav. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Both players opting for a second gas, of course. PvPs, unless it's a 4-gate, you're going to see that second gas. And 4-gates are very, very rare at the very top level, just because if your opponent knows what they're doing, they're going to counter it. And these guys, let me tell you, they know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. They've been playing a lot of Heart of the Storm, and they want that spot at the Winter Championships. And they're not too far away. They each have to win 2 more games. That's it, and they're in. 2 more games, and that's it. So we'll have to see what these guys do. I expect them to play on the safer side of things, considering how important this is.
Titan's doing the exact same opening he did in the last game against Socke. Or sorry, 2 games, you guys, I guess you'd say. But in his game against Socke, doing the exact same opening. It seems like he really likes this opening. Grubby, on the other hand, going for a fast Twilight Council. I expect this to be a Dark Templar rush.
I agree.
From what I've seen so far from the top level of Protoss, Dark Templar is deemed to be a superior build to a Blink Rush because it costs the same amount of gas. Both of them are 150. Dark Templar have the potential to instantly end the game. And even if they don't, because they're not investing a horrendous amount of gas, it's not that hard to go back and get either Blink or Charge right after it. And you got map control, you force a couple observers out. Overall, a really, really strong opening in Heart of the Swarm.
You know, I really like Titan's opening that he's been doing. I think it allows you to apply that pressure. And you can also take a really fast expansion and not be terribly worried about losing it, because you're always going to be able to use Photon Overcharge, unless, of course, disaster strikes and your Mother's Core falls.
You know, about that point was really interesting in his match against Socke. Socke had the faster expansion, but because Titan put on that pressure, Socke prioritized corner boosting out the Immortals and getting gateway units, and he cut a couple probes. And all it took was for Socke to cut a couple probes, and Titan was able to actually maintain probe equality. Then, of course, later with the drop play, he took the income advantage. But in PvP, expanding faster doesn't always mean you have more economy. Titan's build is awesome because he can constantly build probes. If you notice that, nothing but always probe production behind him.
Oh my gosh, he's going to time warp the top of the ramp, targets down the sentry. No force fields available. Grubby was caught completely off guard there.
An awesome move there. Grubby has guys positioned just like you would in Wings of Liberty. Perhaps, Heart of the Storm, you got to give your guys a little bit more room off that ramp because that time warp sentry snipe was just sick good.
Okay, and now how is Grubby going to prevent his opponent from marching up his ramp?
He's just going to use
the zealots to kind of
I mean, roughly, his army is slightly weaker, but, you know, Titan doesn't want to get on the ramp where he can get kind of stuck and mashed in his units, so he won't be able to fight very easy, he won't be able to retreat. And then, of course, Grubby's about to get Dark Templar out, which, in fact, he has one Dark Templar actually already heading towards Titan's base.
Grubby going to try to distract his opponent a bit with his main army as the DT is going to go right into the main, and now Titan is going to be on the run. Titan trying to kite as effectively as possible, but losing some probes in his main.
Yeah, DT is going to work. Titan, of course, now has the Observer out, but there's no units quite yet in the main. Just now a Stalker warping in. The DT is still doing damage. Probes are trying to fight it, but it one hits him up to 7 kills, 8 kills, 9 kills, 10 kills, and it finally goes down, but that was an Instructor Dark Templar.
Wow, income tab is now 27-18 in favor of Grubby. Workers killed is 10-1. Grubby was following Titan across the whole map, and now Titan, again, while he does have that faster expansion, he's going to have way fewer probes.
Titan does have the expansion though. He's significantly down on probes. His expansion is almost done. He also has a pylon in Grubby's natural.
Grubby might want to go and...
I mean, if he warps anything in, Grubby could just counter warp him, but it's just kind of funny that Grubby was so, you know, diligent in trying to basically put the counter pressure on, which is the correct move, that he neglected that pylon. Of course, now that, you know, he's been pushed back, the observers are there, Titan's got his defense going, Grubby's going to just clean up all these pylons, and that's going to give him an even greater advantage, because Titan will have to rebuild those at some point.
Yeah, I actually like Grubby's position a bit here, but I mean, Titan's not out of it by any means.
Oh,
he did lose a lot of probes.
Yeah, but he's been double producing them, so he's only down by a couple probes now. In fact, what's the exact probe count? Let's take a look.
31 and 26.
Okay, so he's down by 5 right now, but by the time Nexus completes, he'll probably only be down by about 3 because he's still constantly double producing them. So the income's going to be very, very even. Now, if we talk about tech, though, Grubby does have a Twilight Council and a Dark Shrine and a Robotics Facility, whereas Titan just has the Robotics Facility. So Grubby has that decisive tech advantage. He can basically go in any direction he wants. He can get charged, he can get blink, he can continue to DT harass, and he can even go straight to Colossi or continue to observe production. Titan, on the other hand, doesn't really have any tech, just basic units. Will we see him throw down a Stargate? Or in fact, actually, Rizaki did double Stargates. Will we see a repeat of that, or is he going to try something different here against Grubby?
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about the current metagame in Heart of the Storm PvP. Of course, this is the beta. People are still playing with everything. And again, we saw Stargate from both players in the Socke versus Titan match. And it remains to be seen, you know, what's the strongest late game comp? Should everyone be going for Void Rays because of Prismatic Alignment? Stalkers are kind of bad late game. Or is Colossi still the way to go with a bunch of Archons and High Templar? So we should be finding this out fairly soon. For now, Grubby adding on a War Prism, and Titan adding on 2 additional gateways.
Titan's play is very interesting, powering out a lot of units, but there's still no tech. It's almost as if he wants to try to hit a timing, but then that doesn't make sense. He's still producing probes, and also, okay, there's a Stargate, double Stargate. Just want to make sure he can stay alive until the Stargates get out and play. You know the other thing he might have been doing? He might have been delaying his tech until he makes sure Grubby doesn't have an observer in his base. We can see from Titan's viewpoint, he's got one observer on kind of the left bottom section of the map, trying to make sure no observers come that way. But Grubby's observer, it was actually over on the right side. In fact, did it see
Titan actually built the Stargates right underneath the observers.
I think he was waiting to try to make sure there weren't any. Unfortunately, the wrong time. An engagement here in the middle.
Grubby knows that he could have an advantage here, considering his opponent just put down 2 Stargates. Doesn't want to let those kick in, so he might go for a push. The gateway's behind this. How many do we have here? 4.
Grubby,
both players have 4.
Grubby's getting his own double Stargate. Of course, apparently saying the best way to counter air is with air. Meanwhile, pressuring his opponent from the front. Warp Prism sneaking in the back, or just kind of waiting out here a little bit.
Photon Overcharge will be available for that Nexus. At the same time, Grubby going to be toying with the front of the natural expansion. Has an observer going forward as well to spot out the unit composition. drop is going to happen there in the main, but it's immediately going to be cleaned up. And the Phoenix actually going to be pursuing this Warp Prism.
Oh, and that Warp Prism is going to go down.
Yep.
The Zealots are going to get escaped. They'll rejoin their friends.
One of them could be lifted up, but beyond that, it won't die. It'll just have a moment of sheer terror, flailing his arms.
You think they should take damage when they're dropped, right?
In theory, yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, Zealots have very strong legs. I think.
Well, okay. What if you get dropped from a Warp Prism? Should you take damage?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well said, my friend. Well said. Apparently, the gravity's low enough. They
maybe
terminal velocity is not that high here.
Maybe they have boots on their at the bottom of their little jetpacks at the bottom of their boots.
One thing Grubby's doing that I really like is taking a third base. He knows his opponent's on the defensive. He knows he's got the stronger ground army, and he can catch up in air. Both players going Void Rays, which is interesting. I really would have thought they would have continued Phoenix production. Of course, Titan doesn't know Grubby has air units yet, I don't think.
He had an Observer like really close to it.
Did he catch
No, he didn't end up seeing it. Like, the Observer's still there, very close to seeing those Stargates.
But Grubby's choice to go Void Rays over Phoenixes is very interesting. You know, standard PvP theory says Void Rays are better against ground units. Phoenixes are better if you're both going air because they have higher maneuverability. Once you get the range upgrade, they actually have greater range. And in a straight-on fight, they're almost exactly dead even. But of course, Phoenixes can do harassment and have that speed advantage. Overall, they're typically a stronger choice. Grubby disagrees, though.
Well, no, he's going into Phoenix now.
He's getting everything. He's getting a mixture.
The Observer was moved over there, by the way. So
keeping tabs on things.
Titan should know exactly what's happening.
And Grubby's going to have a decisive advantage with that extra base. I mean, Titan's doing some nice harass here with these Phoenixes, getting some kills. But, Grubby's Phoenix is trying to defend, but it's only 2 versus 3. Titan's going to back away anyway.
Decently close. Yeah, Grubby's going to take an aggressive stance here, going to try to keep his opponent from taking a third base, potentially.
This would be a really interesting engagement. Both players have armies that look very even. Actually, Titan's army looks like it's got a little bit more on the ground there, an extra Immortal. Titan's adding in a third Stargate.
Wow.
I love this play. You got I mean, once you both commit to air, whoever wins the air is going to win the game. Grubby with a small squadron of Phoenixes at the bottom of the map. They may be going in for harass, but no, they're going to turn back. He's got 4 Phoenixes. Titan's got 3. If he can cut Titan's Phoenixes off, he can kill them all.
No, it's going to be close, and
he's going in.
Going to. Wow, there's 5 Phoenixes versus 3, and Grubby, just like that, is going to be ahead as far as the air battles.
Such a big move by Grubby there. 3 Phoenixes is actually a lot of resources, guys. That's a very big deal. Titan had the advantage in army strength before that, but right now it's all Grubby.
Grubby's a better concave. There goes the Time Warps onto the army's Void Rays, placing down prismatic alignment stalkers, wailing around in the air, struggling to be let go there, but Grubby is going to come out on top of this battle of 142 to 107 in supply. Just a superior concave going to define things. Zealot reinforcements, Void Ray reinforcements coming forward as well, and Titan getting cleaned up.
Man, Grubby just had too many air units there, too much support. Amazing concave, great time warps. Everything there was in Grubby's favor.
All right, now he's going to potentially counterattack for the win. I mean, again, while that was happening, his third base was up. It was mining. Grubby has had a superior economy over his opponent for quite a long time. Titan has never actually been able to get probes over to that third base, only has 2 mining there. And now Grubby is going to advance forward with this vastly superior army. He's up 145 to 94 in that supply count.
Titans maybe has a few extra Phoenixes, so if he can play defensive and use air superiority to pick off his opponent, maybe he can sneak back in here, but it's going to be a very, very tough road back as Grubby's ground army is just so dominant. Now he's going to exercise his ground dominance, strike, and he's going to take out the third. There's nothing Titan can do to save that third.
Gosh, which means it's going to be 2, actually, hold on.
Grubby is going to
engage here, trying to throw down the Time Warp to run away, but these units are going to get flanked. They're going to get trapped, and Grubby cleaning up the rest of the army. There's the GG from Titan. And, you know, when you lose that third base and your opponent has 3 bases of his own, especially in PvP, it's so hard to come back unless you have some really unless you have storms or photon overcharge, or your opponent just overcommits or something. You know, Grubby able to seal the deal there after taking that big engagement in the middle of the map.
He was, you know. The battle there was such a good time for Grubby to fight because he had a lot more gateways than Titan. Titan, of course, invested in that third Stargate, but that battle occurred before the Stargate production could really kick in. So he didn't really gain the air superiority yet. He kind of needed to be on defensive mode until he got the air superiority. Grubby didn't give him that chance, cranking out so many gateway units and pushing forward there for the win.
So Titan is going to be eliminated from the last chance bracket for the EU guys, and Grubby will advance to the final. Now, we still have another match to see who Grubby's going to play against. We got Mana versus Feast, and whatever that will advance on to play Grubby. And of course, Grubby versus the winner of those two gets that spot at the Winter Championship event. Guys, stay tuned. You're watching the European Last Chance Qualifier. Coming up next, it's going to be Feast versus Mana. Stay tuned.